Welcome to episode 3 of Hornets Sports Buzz. You'll notice that I changed the name of the title of the show from Talking Sports because executive decision. Hornets, for one reason, do not live in hives. They live in nests. Episode 3, we're going to be joined by David Cass on my far right and Mark Murphy in the middle. And if you've watched previous episodes of Talking Soccer, which this show is an offshoot of, you've seen David and Mark. But we're going to get back to them in a minute. We're going to wrap up a couple of housekeeping items. Just a quick look at the Kelly Rex standings at all 8 sports. In first place in the Kelly Rex, Mansfield is in football, boys soccer, and girls cross country. In second place, the boys cross country team. They're in fourth place, the golf team, and tied for fourth, the volleyball team. So again, 4 out of the 8 teams in first place in the Kelly Rex, which is pretty good. Probably...
As of what date?
As of October 3rd, thank you. Some sports, it's halfway through the season, which we're going to talk about soccer in a bit. Some sports, maybe only a third of the way through. So got about a month and a half to go, depending on the sport. Last week's trivia question is, in volleyball, which player is the one that's freely allowed to roam around the court that is not held to the substitution patterns? I think one of you two guessed. Do you guys know the answer to that?
I think we both got it. Libero.
Libero, yep.
Libero, which means in some language freedom. Freedom, do you know what, is it Spanish?
I don't know if it's Spanish
Sure.
or Italian.
I don't know.
I'm guessing one of the
I did a little research. They're not allowed to serve and they're not allowed to go to the net, but they're really defensive specialists. So that's, hopefully that wasn't too hard of a trivia question.
Are they the ones who wear the special different color jersey?
They are.
So you can recognize them? Okay.
Yeah, wear a special color jersey. That's good. This week's trivia question, we haven't talked about football too much. Coach Redding is a hard person to get in touch with, but he's a busy man. So this one's football related. Mansfield won a state championship in football in 2013. Who was the opponent they defeated? One hint is he was a fellow Holy Cross graduate, the head coach. So what team did Mansfield beat in the 2013 state football championship? Hopefully that's easy for you football players. Just a couple more housekeeping items. We're looking for musical suggestions. That's one of my very many weaknesses. So one of our friends gave me some feedback. We need some musical intro or outgoing music, which he sent me something, but I think it was a little risque. So we're looking for anybody at home that has like a little 15-second musical creativity. Just send it along to Jack Cooney at jadajocooney@yahoo.com. That's JADAJO Cooney at yahoo.com. We're also looking for fans and parents to come in. Technically, Mark is a fan because he doesn't have a kid in the program anymore, and David is a fan, but he works in the soccer booth, so he's highly compensated. But the future guests include Teresa Nyan of the girls field hockey team, Melissa Heaton of the volleyball team, Derek Ellis, I talked to him yesterday, the girls cross country team, and Kevin Kemp, who works he's in the booth of the girls soccer team, and along with all the captains. Coach Smith is a little tricky to get his schedule together. So you see the common theme there. We're getting all the female coaches of the teams. We need some of the guys coaches, but that's just my fault. I'm going to reach out to everybody. So that's about it. So we're going to talk about boys soccer tonight. So I didn't tell these guys. So again, a quick intro. Mark Murphy's had 3 kids go through the program, 2 of which graduated in 2014. They were twin boys, Chris Murphy and Jimmy Murphy. Jimmy was an Eastern Mass All-Star, I think.
He was. Yep.
He was one of the captains. Chris was a solid starter, scored a few goals, got a few yellow cards, but he was a major contributor. And David Cass, sorry, that was for you, Otto.
Half the town knows me as Cass, and half of them know me as Bro Cass.
Okay, so. David Cass. His son Ethan, I don't want to give away any of the questions we may have later, but he's a 4-year varsity member of the Mansfield High soccer team. And David's been in the booth for, is this your 4th year?
Yes, 4th year.
All right. So we're gonna have them talking a lot later, but I did tell them one surprise, which, I'm going to take a cue from Coach Belichick, and we're going to start the show fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a trivia contest.
Oh, great.
No.
Which neither one of them know. Mark brought no paper. David brought some paper. I'm going to ask you to turn that over, David.
Hold on, let me study it for a second.
Okay. As you can see here, every week I'm going to be a prop. The winner of the trivia contest is going to get this beautiful soccer ball. Okay? It's got a $9.99 retail value.
Do you have authority to give that away?
I don't believe that's your truth.
No,
Your
it's
way.
not. It's not.
Okay.
So the way this is going to work, because it's my trivia contest and my show, right? We're going to have about 10 questions. I'm going to ask each of them different questions. So Mark, if I ask him, if he gets it right, it's 2 points. If he doesn't know it, it goes to David. He's going to get 1 point. The reason behind that is David's going to have more time to think. Whereas when it's David's turn, I ask him a question. If he gets it right, it's 2 points.
Okay.
And Mark 1. And the kicker is, if neither one of them gets it right, I get 3 points. So I can win this, even though I'm not answering the question. So
I have a feeling you're going to be the odds-on favorite going into this thing.
I might take home this trophy. All right, we're going to move it quick. It's a rapid fire. I'm going to go with Mark. First question. And those of you at home can play along too. Not counting today's games, October 3rd, who leads the Hawkmock individually in most goals scored?
Dylan Barrera, Foxborough.
Correct. That was a bit of a trick question because he was tied with Luke Savoy going into last night's game, and he scored a goal in the rain in Franklin.
It's frankly a guess. I knew that it was close, but
Impressive.
I think that has 15 now.
15 for Barrera from Foxborough and 14
14.
for Luke Savoy, which we'll talk about much more later. Very good. 2 points for Mark. Those of you at home, please keep score. This question's for David. What was the only game, this one's a little bit harder, the only game last year that a Mansfield underclassman scored a goal? And by the way, there were 3 underclassmen that scored in this game, but every other one of the 17 games, 18 games including postseason, all seniors that scored. Which game last year was the only one that underclassmen scored?
It's got a guess. I'm going to say Stoughton because that's one of the higher scoring games. But
That's a good guess. It's incorrect.
Taunton?
Taunton, we're going to give Mark a point. I'm going to give him a half a point if he knows, was it the home game or the away game?
The away game.
It was the home game. So,
So, yes.
3 for Mark, 0 for David, 0 for Jack.
I wasn't as invested last year. Ethan was injured, so I didn't pay as much attention.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, question number 3. I'm gonna go David first, and then Mark.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
Who was the last sophomore to score a goal for Mansfield?
The last sophomore to score a goal for Mansfield? Looking back, I don't think a sophomore scored this year. So if we go back to last year, that would have been...
Or the year before?
If we go the year before, it would have been... Oh, Ethan Brocas.
Very good. That's why I gave the question to David.
Yeah, it was against Fall River. He was playing stopper
New
because
Bedford.
Nick was out. New
Yeah,
Bedford. He was.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I may look smart, but I have all the answers to the questions like Tom Brady.
Thanks
so.
for the hint.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
back another year.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know if Mark would have got.
So Colin Caridi last year doesn't count?
He,
Scored against Taunton. That's what I was thinking about when you said
I think he got an
underclassmen.
assist. I think I'm gonna have to check.
Okay, no problem.
We're gonna be fact checking.
Oh.
So all right. So it's 2 for David,
3 for
3 for Mark. Okay, as of today, October 3rd, how many points does Mansfield need to qualify for postseason? Season, Mark.
As of today,
As of today,
1.
David.
2.
Please
Because
explain that.
they're playing a 19th game, so they have to have 1 point per game. So they need 19 points.
Okay.
That was a
Because
trick
they
question.
added in the Brockton game to put a 19th game on.
So those of you at home, Mansfield's current record as of today is 7 wins, 0 losses, 3 ties. You get 2 points for winning soccer. That's 14 plus 3, 17. In most sports in MIA in the fall, the number of games, you have to have a 500 record or better. So again, we get 3 to 3?
3 to 3.
All right.
I was lucky. I talked to the coach about that a couple games ago, and he straightened me out on that.
So we have gone Mark, David, David, Mark. So we're going to go Mark here.
Because they have had games that don't count to the MIA. They have had mid-season scrimmages that don't count, but these are all counting this year.
These are all, I think they're all
Yep.
all league
Okay.
games or
Right.
MIA
There's a word
recognized
for
games.
that they added the games. I can't remember. You're allowed to.
There is, yes.
I'm going to give partial credit on
Good
this
thing we're
one.
experts.
Mark, name the last 4 players in Mansfield history to make varsity as freshmen. In no particular order.
Ethan Brocas,
Correct.
Nick Highland,
Yep.
Alex Thompson,
That's not correct, but you got 2 out of 4 so far.
then I don't know.
Current year counts.
Dylan Buchanan.
Right. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to give him
Dave's got a
3 out
good
of
shot
4.
at this, so-
David, the last one.
is Chris Elsner.
Chris Elsner, very good. So we'll do the math at home. Mark gets 75% of 2, and David gets 25%.
We're working
of 1.
decimals now.
So,
We're
yeah.
in big trouble.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to call it 4 to 4 just for fun.
We don't have a fact checker either, so.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a little bit of a trick question, so we'll give it to David. What
Oh,
current
great.
Mansfield coach started as a keeper for 4 years during his playing years?
Frank Durant.
As far as I know, that's incorrect. What current Mansfield coach started 4 years as a keeper for Mansfield in
Oh,
his
for
playing
Mansfield?
years?
Oh,
Bryson Dowd?
Is he a current coach?
I don't know. He was
Yeah.
last year or 2 years ago.
So here's the trick part. It doesn't have to be a boys coach.
Oh, Robbie McDonald.
there
Very
you go.
good, yeah. So again, I know all the answers. At least my wife told me these are the right answers.
We get so focused
I'm
on
gonna, I'm
the
gonna,
I
give,
know,
my-
yeah.
I'm gonna give myself 3 points there.
There you go.
All right?
Give
I'm,
yourself
I'm
3
on
All the
board.
questions were boys' questions until that one. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
that's
say.
okay. We got to think more
So
broadly.
who wants this one? I think you both. This.
No, good. Either way.
We'll go.
Dave does.
We'll go David. What?
You're so generous.
Thank you.
By the way, these questions are going to segue to brief conversation afterwards. So make sure we're going to start fast, and hopefully you guys will stay tuned because the ratings are they're going through the roof. What team did Mansfield defeat for its last postseason victory, and what year was it? In soccer.
They beat. I know it was a 1-0 win. It was Ethan's freshman year, and I believe it was against KP on a header by Charlie Rogers off of feed by center back, whose name is escaping me, who's in the military now.
So
Max Gernon on the
Max
assist,
Gernon
but
on
I
the
think it was
assist.
Jake Staples on the
Jake
goal.
Staples on the goal. That's right.
correct.
Otherwise,
I always
it's-
get those two confused.
I know.
I get those two wrong every time.
Until they stood next to each other, I
I
do
know.
too. Yeah.
King Philip is the correct answer. So, but we're going to give Mark because it was actually 2-1 victory for Mansfield because King Philip
that's
scored
right.
shortly after half.
Yep.
And Jake Staples, if you can go back 3 years, one of the most beautiful goals I've seen. And it was a playoff game. It was an unbelievable header, and he timed his run perfectly. It was beautiful.
If you had an opportunity to see the Owen Malahi goal early in the season, it was very similar to that.
That's what I
It
heard.
was.
I missed
What
it.
a reference! Wow, these guys are the best. Matt Savoy, we still want you to come on the show, so this is your last chance. Okay, this one's going to Mark. In the 8-year history of the Davenport division, which team has won the most titles?
Oliver Ames.
Oliver Ames, Mark, but they're in the Kelly Ricks.
I love that question.
They were
Tony.
for 6 years, but in the last 2 years they've been in the Kelly. They've moved to the Kelly Rex
Yeah.
because of the switch of North Attleboro and Oliver Ames, which actually made the Kelly Rex stronger, certainly last year, because they were one of the better teams in the state. Period, regardless of small or large division. So
Always correct. And in one of the 2 years in the Kelly Rex, they've already won a Kelly Rex title, which was last year.
Yeah, by
Correct.
1
Beat
point.
Mansfield by 1 point. All right, we're going to go. So, same question, David. 8-year history, Kelly Rex, who's won the most titles?
And the Kelly Rex, I'd have to say it's in the last 8 years, I'm guessing KP.
That is incorrect.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know. I got it wrong.
Mark?
I'm going to guess Franklin.
He's right.
go.
So some of these questions favor Mark because not because he's older, because he's been around the program longer. But Franklin won it 4
I'm more
years in a row.
experienced.
When our older boys played, freshman through senior year, Franklin won it 4 years in a row, and they haven't won it since. But OA's got one, KP's got one, and Mansfield's got one.
Went Mansfield,
So-
KP, OA, and knock on wood.
Those were
keep
some
going
games.
for-
Those are Mansfield Franklin games. Those were some games that I remember the most. Lots of controversy, lots of physicality. Some people didn't consider it soccer. Some of those games were pretty brutal. Lots of yellows and reds back in the day.
And they found a way to win. And I always say, like, we might talk some statistics later. Franklin never had the leading goal scorer. They had a kid, Zach Scafati, who's a friend of the family. Freshman year, he was leading the league, and he broke his tibia or one of those things.
Mansfield took him out, apparently.
Mansfield took him out. But
Don't
see-
say they took him out. It was an injury that occurred while they were playing.
Thank you. You must have some legal background.
I just don't want anyone to, use this against
I
one of the players
appreciate
in the
that.
future.
But by senior year, he was playing striker, which one of the key positions on the field, or central defender, and Franklin was tough to win, but they scored just enough goals to win. All right, 2 more questions. Which team has, as of today's individual stats, which team has the most individuals in the top 9 in scoring, goals plus assists? And the reason I picked top 9 is because there's about 15 kids tied for 10. So of the top 9 individuals scoring, goals plus assists, which team has the most players? David?
I think it's Foxborough.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
Well, I was going to guess Foxborough, but now that you have, I
Thank
won't.
you.
3
At
points for
least
Jack.
at least I took that one off the list for you.
So if I wasn't going to guess Foxborough, then I would have to say, I have no idea.
I'd guess Milford if it
It's
wasn't.
Canton.
Oh, Canton. Okay.
Oh, that's what
That's
I'm
the
saying.
top of the two
Yep,
top
yep.
of the
Yeah,
Davenport.
I think it's Griffin Roach, Paul Corcoran, and maybe Simon Cruz, but I'm not sure.
And
Again,
all of them were in the top scorers in the league last year. That's why they returned a very strong team this year, we were saying,
Yep.
in the preseason game.
Do all the teams report? Because I was checking that out early in the season, and it seemed like there were some scores that didn't seem to make it into the into the
It's
stats.
up to the coaches
Okay.
to report it to HockerMarkSports.com, which is, sort of an independent agency, so it's not like it's MIA scoring. you
Yeah,
know.
I don't think Foxborough did the first couple games, but well, it just says we've mentioned Dylan Barrera, who was this week's Hockomock Player of the Week from Foxborough. Back-to-back games, either scored 6 goals and 6 goals or 6 and 5, which is
Or
unbelievable.
6 and 6.
You
Double
know,
hat
a
tricks.
double hat trick in back-to-back games. Rumor has it he missing a couple games. I think maybe because the red card hasn't been confirmed, but we're here to spread rumors. So, but he came back with a vengeance. So that's why he's slightly ahead of Luke Savoy. But we'll see what happens the second half of the year. My final question. I was gonna, something about Coach Sheridan, but I had to keep it, PG. But it is about Coach Sheridan, and this is open. Whoever buzzes first. What year was Coach Sheridan named
say Canada.
HockomockSports.com Coach of the Year? By the way, it did happen, Coach. You did win it one year.
2015.
David didn't buzz, but he got the right answer.
Oh, sorry, I didn't buzz.
Couldn't reach the buzzer there. I was gonna say 2016 anyway, but
So the way I got it, I have 6 points.
The other one, the Hawks.
And I have them tied. 2015 is correct. This is the bonus question,
Okay.
and you have to buzz this one.
Okay.
This is a technical question. What is Coach Bruce Bout's favorite type of music?
reggae.
Reggae. He wins it. Here you go, Mark.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you.
The first annual trivia competition. This thing's heavy too. Can you show our viewing audience?
Well, I can lift it. It can't be too heavy, so.
Pretty heavy.
Nice.
Is it more or less than a pint?
It's about the same.
So those of you at home, be honest, and hopefully you didn't listen to the answers before. I know a few people that probably did well. Like I want to shout out Sue Haley. Special shout out. She's the mom of Robbie Haley. She always tweets before the game to try to get people to show up. So I'm sure she did well in this competition. Matt Savoy probably got a big goose egg. So anyways, that's all I have, but we're just getting started. I have free for all. We're going to just talk some soccer. A couple things we mentioned, the trivia questions. Mansfield's 7-0-3. If those of you that watched the Talking Soccer show preseason, I think we all thought Mansfield was going to do well, partly because the Kelly Rex, consensus-wise was going to be down. But I'm going to speak for myself first. I'm really surprised. No offense to Coach Sheridan, the boys, the captains, and seniors, but I didn't see it coming. And David, since Ethan's on the team, why don't you talk about? Are you as surprised as I am, or?
I'm actually surprised, and there's a couple reasons. One, I didn't see the scoring kind of developing the way it has. And that's mainly because although I thought Luke Savoy would have a great year and lead the team in scoring, I didn't expect him to be top of the Hawk in scoring. And I think that's provided a lot of the offensive input that's kind of driven them up. But also the defense, anytime you're giving up 1 goal or 0 goals in a game, you're in the game. You can win. I mean, you look at Sharon, they came back and got the tie because they held them to 1 and then scored with 3 seconds left. They've only had 1 game this year where they've given up more than 1. And anytime your defense plays
First
solid,
game of the year, right?
Yep, and I was against first game against Foxborough. Any other time you're in the game if you're 1 goal down or even, and they've been able to maintain that, and that gives the offense, when they're not having the best offensive night, it still gives them the opportunity for someone like O'Malley, Luke Savoy, Dylan Buchanan, or one of the juniors to get up and get a foot on something. In the Milford game, went to the end. We got a PK off a service from Ethan Brocast where they just hauled down 2 guys in the box and they awarded the PK, and Luke Savoy just tucked it right in the right-hand side. So the defense, as has been the same for the last 4 years that I've been watching them, really, has always been a solid component. So that keeps them in the games, and then the amazing scoring by Luke Savoy so far this year has really has kind of been able to, with that scoring down, been able to put them over the top in a lot of the games.
That's good. That's a very thorough answer. I was expecting a yes or no, but
apologize.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. We'll talk. We're going to talk a little bit about the defense more, but the keeper, Mark. I mean, you've been around for 50-something years, but you've been watching Mansfield soccer for about 8 to 10 years. And Can you talk about
or more.
Anthony and Tony Salisbury? Because this kid flat out impresses me. What do you see here?
I would say, well, don't belittle both keepers because they really have two strong keepers.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
And Cambovi and Anthony Salisbury, and they both have size. They both have experience. Something Mansfield has lacked. So you want to say about my years of watching this, beyond the last 8 years where I've had kids in the program, I was watching it probably 3, 4, 5 years before that because I'm kind of a junkie, and they always had a number one. Sometimes not always, but they always had a number one, but never had two. If they ever got the main keeper hurt, they were going to be in trouble. It seemed like just from you could just tell by when they did play the backup keepers or during the preseason, you could just see that. This year, they could, and the coaches started doing this a little bit recently. They can play a half each if need be, and rest them or give experience. Because come later in the season, if they need experience, heaven forbid something happens to one of them, they have a backup, and they probably work off each other well. They probably practice well together. They probably push each other well. And anytime you have competition at a position, it helps that position and then the whole team at that position. So I think the keepers are one of the strongest points. We jokingly said in the preseason that the defense is so strong the keepers may get bored back there, but they've had just enough action and have had to make just enough saves. Some of them fantastic. A couple of Salisbury that I've seen have been game savers at the time. They may have turned into a two-goal win by us in the end, but at the time it might have been a 0-0 or game at the time. So I think that they definitely have more strength at that position than I have seen in the last, we'll say, at least 8 years, maybe 12.
Okay, yeah. As you'll be able to see as we go through this, we could talk all night about
And
this.
both juniors.
Yeah,
So,
I was just going to bring that up.
Yep.
So we'll go from the back out. Let's just mention some names. The two of the defenders are captains Sam Nugent, who's the sweeper, and Ethan Brillcast, David's son, who's the stopper. The outside Ds are Derek Muth, returning starter, and Matt O'Donnell. So we have 4 senior starters, which is pretty impressive. Can you talk? Let's talk a little bit about Matt O'Donnell. We didn't talk much about the preseasons, but David, you play on the right side or left side, or talk a little bit about Matt.
Well, he normally plays on the right-hand side, but they have made a few adjustments depending on size and speed. Matt O'Donnell has been, he got a lot of playing time last year because of Ethan's injury, so he was kind of the first sub off the bench. So he got a lot of extra time because the coach normally uses kind of a 5-man rotation back there. He has his 4 starters and 1 that he kind of subs in. He rarely takes off his stopper and sweeper, so it's usually the outside backs get rotated. But Matt O'Donnell has been, I would say, his comfort level is increased because he's been much more aggressive in moving forward and challenging high. Last year, he was more of a wait for them to come to him player. This year, he seems to be more go and challenge up at the, it's weird to talk about the 40, 50-yard line and try and take away the ability for them to turn and move to goal. So I think that's been one of the benefits. Because he also, I think, when he challenges high, he has the benefit of Ethan sliding behind him and Nugent sliding in behind him, and then Muth can slide over to the middle and kind of take an open space. So, I think that's helped him a lot, and I think that he's developed in his trust level and his understanding of how that happens has really benefited for both him and the team.
Yeah, and I think Derek Muth on the other side, Derek's a big, I don't know if he's 6'2" or 6'3", big, strong kid. He started last year mainly because Ethan Brillcast was out with injury, although Derek could have slid up to midfielder. Mark, talk about what you see in Derek's style, and maybe contrasting with Matt or just on its own for Derek Muth.
well, I'll say that I think I've seen Derek push forward a little bit more than last year. I think there's a lot of confidence, and that may come from the fact that the stopper sweeper is so confident back there from both sides to push a little bit further forward. And I've seen the defenders actually, as Dave just said, they're now up in midfield. Years past, sometimes they would be worried about getting beat over the top, and they're not worried about that as much anymore. Derek's got a huge left foot, and on the left side, he's used that as a weapon quite often.
Would you say size 12 or size 13, or just he can kick the ball far?
He can kick the ball far. He's got, but in other
He may
words,
have a size 12.
he has a strong kicking leg,
Yeah,
if you wish
yes, thank you.
to phrase it differently. And they will actually play it back to Derek at midfield. He'll sneak up to midfield and they'll play it back on the wing to him, and he will put a cross in from there. And when they recognize it, I've seen runners go to the far post knowing that ball's going to get all the way there, 50 yards plus, on a diagonal, because they see Derek about to, a ball played back to him, chance to go forward. And if they have the right people forward and they recognize that early enough, they could have a lot of dangerous crosses on the back post. And so I think he's become a weapon offensively where And he's even pushed forward a lot on
Set plays.
Set plays.
Yeah, he's in the
And
box on set plays.
did you see him in set plays at all last year?
No, I don't. I mean, he did. He came up a little bit towards the end of the season,
Early in
but
the season?
earlier in the season, I think they
Or
were
if they're
much more.
down and they need a goal last year
Yeah.
because
They put
he's
the
a big
size forward.
body, they put the size forward. But I've seen him push forward quite a bit more this year, which is good for him, good for the team. Shows real confidence in the back line.
That's good. I agree.
I think one of the things you'll see from the way the defense has come out now, you have between the Ethan, Matt, and Derek, all three have the foot to put it into the box from distance. So you'll see that all three of them can service into the six from midfield or just inside midfield. So you have a lot more offensive capability if we can get people forward, as we have been a little bit, for those three to provide opportunities for the forwards and the midfielders.
And instead of having 1-2 people in the box, now we can have 4 or 5
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah. And I think in past years, like when Harry Brait and when Nick Hyland was playing outside back, I don't think either one of them or some of the other ones who subbed in for them at that time were comfortable kind of engaging in the offense from that distance. They were more drive it up and pass it off than they were kind of service into the box.
Yep.
Okay. Instead of talking about all 11 players individually, which again we could, in the way my brain works, we're gonna skip the midfielders for now. We're gonna go right up top, and we'll talk individually about the forwards, but just as a group, and you guys know just as well or better than I do that traditionally Mansell done a 4-4-2, which traditionally means 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 forwards. And I think almost from game 2 or 3, they've gone to a 4-5-1, which 5 middies and 1 forward. First of all, can you explain that? And then talk about the forward group, which I think he's mixed up his starters. But David, talk about, I know Dylan Buchanan's been in the mix, Owen Malahy, and then we're going to talk about Savoy later. But can you talk about the formation and then like the forward group?
Well, what I think he did went from the 4-4-2 to the 4-5-1 because I think we have a better collection of midfielders for control and offense, so they can move out of those positions a little bit more. So it's better than having 2 designated high. We only have 1 designated high, which has been kind of flipped off between Dylan Buchanan and Owen Malahy have really been the 2 main high guys. Dylan Buchanan, as a freshman, has come in, has shown great poise up top, an ability to bring the ball to his foot out of the air, and his ability to kind of hold people off and not go down. So that's helped, and that's helped them progress the midfielders and even their outside backs up into a more offensive position. He's done a great job, especially coming in as a freshman. Owen Malahy's probably one of the fastest players on the team. That we've, as you guys know, high school is more of a vertical game than a possession-style game. So it's perfectly suited to him. You put the ball over the top, and he's going to challenge any outside back or center back to the ball. But what I think this year, instead of being a true 4-5-1, they've been much more fluid. I don't know if it's the coach by designation or just by development of the players. But you're seeing Luke Savoy come out of an attacking mid position. He'll be the high person based on how he's progressed, and you'll see Owen Malahy drop back into the midfield. You'll see Luke Devine come out of an outside mid, and all of a sudden he'll be the high player. So it's been much more. It hasn't been as rigid as I've seen in the past.
Yeah.
It's been much more kind of whoever's in the position, take advantage of where you are. So I think Coach may trust them a little bit more in that because I think he trusts both, especially both the seniors, Luke Savoy and Luke Devine, a lot to be able to move and get back. And I think a lot of this all still comes out of Coach has to have a good defense in order to trust his offense.
Yeah.
And he's got that. So I think he's allowing them to kind of play a little more freely than he has in the past.
Because sometimes it looks like a 4-3-3.
Yes.
That's what he said. When
Yeah,
they're feeling
it's
confident
true.
and they feel like they can put their foot on the gas and they have the team under pressure, you'll see Devine leak up. You'll see somebody else, Colin Eames or some Connor Eames come to the right side a little bit, and all of a sudden we have the ball. We have waves of attackers. When we're not confident, you will see, and this is still an old thing that happens in soccer, especially high school soccer. You'll see the ball up to the lead forward, and he's the lone guy, and he flicks it forward.
It still happens
And
way
there's
too much.
nobody there.
Yeah.
You are the top guy. You have to pull it down and hold it down. And I've seen touches of, and I see when Luke's up there, he does that. He doesn't usually flick it on.
Yeah.
I've seen Dylan Buchanan start to try and possess and hold the ball a little bit, and he's a freshman. So the future is bright for him
That's
if he continues to play that way, and is allowed to play that way and hold the ball a little bit over time. So
Yeah, there are 2 things that drive me crazy that you see in high school soccer, and I think Mansfield gets into the slightly bad habits. One is the flick on when you're the high striker,
no one.
and you flick on and you flick on to the goalie, and there's nobody running high with you. And the other one is throw-ins from out of bounds are always vertical. You watch out on the field, and we're home. So this year we're home. We're dark.
Yeah.
We're wearing our dark greens, and you see the white, and you see them doing a throw-in from out of bounds, and they're throwing into 6 white jerseys. We just
one green standing there.
one green standing there and 6 white jerseys.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I'm gonna get to the guy in green.
Yeah.
They got to work more more laterally out of throw-ins. I know it's hard because if it's not a good throw-in, it'll get poached, and everyone's worried about a breakaway going back to goal. But it would open up so much more for them if they could just come out of offsides, and then it would open up the other side of the field for them.
All right, let's bring this back up a little bit higher level. Like, so to me, again, we talked about when we do the trivia. I was surprised at the top of the show, like compared to the other Kelly Rex teams. But you know, a few things you guys have mentioned, like, is confidence, because last year only 3 underclassmen scored, and you know, soccer's not about scoring. They had a very good goalie, Nicholas Ferez. You know, the defense is probably just as solid, but you know, where's the scoring come from? You know, we know Savoy has got a lot of talent, Luke Devine, and you know, some promising. The JV team was undefeated, but I really think the confidence is a big factor. Starting with the defense feels confident in the keeper, so you know, one of them's you know, pushing up. They know the other ones are going to be there. The midfielders don't feel like they have to kind of hang around the midsection. They're pushing up, but so is that what you guys are seeing, or do you think it's who do you think it's really stepped up? The one person. Again, let's leave Luke Savoy out of this for 1 second.
Okay.
The one person, and we all made our predictions. Who do you think, or do you think it's really more of a team effort? They've collectively stepped up.
Can I say, guys, you didn't want to talk about the midfield, but
We will.
Last couple of games with some underclassmen playing midfield.
Exactly where I was going to go, yeah.
I have seen good little, well, the term they often use is ticky-tack possession in the middle, where, you know, I'll just throw some names out there, you know, Aldo, Lanzillo, and instead of the desperation pass, I mean, I've said it many times under my breath, as Tom Lanzillo plays it back to a defender because you know, you play the way you face in the game to hold possession instead of turning into traffic and stuff like that. And I've seen them possess in small spaces, you know, the size of this table. Bing, 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 pass, and then it's outside, and then it's back and around, and they reverse the ball. Didn't see that a lot last year, even with the talent we had in midfield. So it seems like they're connecting well as teammates, in my opinion. Is that what you're going to say?
And I would say, when you say what's the surprise is, the surprise to me was coach switched up after 2 or 3 games when he went to a starting lineup with Aldo and Lanzillo as the center mids, which then allowed Devine and Savoy to kind of more freelance and move into other areas. But I think both of them have just played very well in the midfield. I mean, and they're both smart, and they both have good high soccer IQs. They, as you said, they pass well to each other. They pass back. They're good at diagonals. But also, both of them have that innate understanding of where to be when they challenge through the midfield. Lanzillo, I think more so than Aldo, but both very well. Whenever the ball's coming back to the midfield, Lanzillo's busting his rear end, trying to kind of chip at somebody, get a little foot on something, get a little leg on something, force somebody to do something wrong, and Aldo does the same thing. And I think those two have probably, that switch and them stepping up to the switch has been, I think, the most
we never
positive.
talked about that, but did you see that connection last game? That's what I was noticing, those two in particular.
Oh yeah, those two,
working
yeah.
together, yeah. That's funny.
And those two, those two trust Ethan Brocass and Derek Muth and Matt O'Donnell, so they'll use them in that little grouping. And a lot of times you'll see that, and then you'll see, especially from the stopper position, you'll see a little pass back to the 50, and then Ethan will put it into the box.
And you'll watch,
somebody running.
and if you watch Luke Savoy now, when he doesn't have to come get the ball all the time, you watch him find spaces and anticipate where the ball's going to be, and that has opened him up. Despite defenses knowing he's a danger to them, he's still been able to find free space because he doesn't have to be the man on the ball in the midfield all the time, which is that could help him a lot.
And that's simple because when he moves up high, the defenders know him, so they'll shift up there, which will open more space for Peter and Tommy to control through the midfield. And I mean, and Caridi, Colin Caridi is, although he missed a few games because of an injury, but he's of a similar mindset and style. He passes well, challenges well, and plays, I think, a high soccer IQ game. And I think that's some of the benefit of some of these kids. All 3 of those have played through the Nova system. A couple of kids over there played through other systems. So coming in with some club experience and bringing it to the rest of the team, they've all kind of bought into it at this point.
That's good. Okay, we're going to bring this up to a macro level. Just so you know that David and Mark are going to go back to one of their houses and continue this discussion afterwards. But as you can tell, we could go on. No, it's great stuff, especially those viewers, which I think we're into the double digits now for viewers. So just a quick, before we go to the macro level, I brought 3 hats. And those of you at home know why I brought 3 hats. Luke Savoy scored 3 hat tricks this year. And again, this is episode 3. It's a team-based show. We've talked a lot of the individuals, but it's impressive. He's got 14 goals in the year. So he's got 3, 3, 3, a couple games of 2, a couple games of 2. Since I brought this up, and I've only been to like 5 games, but I've seen him directly on a corner kick, which is called a
Olympico?
Olympico.
Oh,
Very good.
see, I didn't know
See,
that
I was
either.
going to ask that. I knew he knew that, but I didn't know if he knew that. It's called an Olympico. I've seen him score off a head-in, tapping the ball in. I've seen him score on a direct free kick. I've seen him score. What other ways?
He scored with his back to the goal last game.
Okay,
The ball
I've not-
coming out of the box, and he just sort of with his left foot curled it back over his shoulder to the far post. Well touched,
Yeah.
knowing exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
Knew the keeper would be coming out, and the keeper just like, oh no. You can see him like, Luke just walked away like.
Oh, and his other goal, one of his other goals in the last game against Stoughton, was on a set piece. Ethan Brookhurst was taken down probably 5 yards outside the 18. Ethan was going to take it, and Luke called him up and said, "No, I got this." And I guess that's confidence you want
Yeah,
from someone
yeah,
like Luke,
yeah.
who can strike the ball. And according to reports I've heard, Luke told at least one other player, and you may all be able to guess who that is, that, "Oh, I'm going low left corner," and boom, low left corner, just place it right
There
in.
you go.
Goalie had no
Yeah.
chance. It was a beautiful strike. I mean,
was.
his confidence is through the roof right
Yeah.
now. And
Ted Williams made a couple of predictions like that, didn't he? Yeah, I think so. He said,
Well, Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, yeah.
Ruth can't-
And not to mention Joe Namath's famous prediction. But so yeah, we'll come back to that briefly. Jack O'Neill's got a bedtime, so we're gonna talk Kelly Rex first. And again, when I say briefly, it'll be briefly. Right now, Mansfield's first. Mansfield's first in the Hawk. David, just tell me, not their records. Tell me 1 through 6, please.
It goes Mansfield, then it goes OA, 5 points behind, and then Attleboro, Franklin, King Philip, and Taunt. And it's kind of a jumble after you got Mansfield because they go from 10 points to 6 points. So there's not a big spread between the rest of the teams.
Okay, if you rewatched our preseason program, we all thought Taunton might be at the bottom, but I think they're kind of creeping up to the middle. I think myself, I thought Attleboro might contend with Mansfield for tops, and they're kind of in the middle now. That surprised me.
4-4-1. They've had some good games, but then they got completely shelled by Foxborough, 8-2.
Yeah, but I think they might have
been missing a couple
something
plays. I heard
funky
there was
going
injury or
on.
something going
OA
there.
surprised me, or I think most of us. Last year they went to the Division II state finals and lost. They won the Kelly Rex by 1 point, which we've mentioned. They have, and I haven't looked at the roster, a lot of young kids. None of them started last year, mostly juniors and sophomores, but they're still young. They got beat finally their first against Milford the other
They're
game.
still good.
Yeah.
So watch out for them next year because they're good and they're young.
Well, we're going to get to
They
next
picked
year.
up a couple transfer players who seem to have added some
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
strength to their back line and midfield.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
my-
we're
my-
gonna
Couple foreign imports.
If I can make a prediction on the rest of Kelly Rex.
That's where we're going with this.
My preseason pick was to watch out for the Davenport teams, right?
All right.
So what my bit of analysis I did for this was Mansfield is the only team in the Kelly Rex to not lose a game to a Davenport team. All Reims has lost 1, Attleboro's lost 2. We have 1 left with North Attleboro, and they're actually a pretty good team. They're
Yeah.
number,
Defensively,
number
they're
2.
very good.
They're number
Yeah.
2 in the
Yeah.
Davenport. But if you can go undefeated against what I think is a very strong Davenport division this year, then that should hold you in good stead for the rest of the Kelly Rex, because the Kelly Rex I think is balanced, and now I'm starting to think that Mansfield is a little above the others
Oh.
from what I've seen.
So-
You're making me nervous.
I'm
My
not going to say
superstition, my
no. I'm
superstition
not.
nature.
I'm not predicting. I'm just saying what
Yeah.
I've seen so far.
So I'm going to lose a lot of viewers at home, but I'm gonna pour my half glass empty cup, I guess. So I have a full glass and I'm pouring half of it out. So now my glass is half empty. There's half the season left, 9 games, including 2 non-league games. I'm going to answer this. What could go wrong? Again, glass half empty. What could go wrong with Mansfield the second half of the year? Meaning, I think they're going to qualify for the tournament. That's really not a stretch. They only need 2 points. They're on pace to win the Kelly Rex, but they'll give it. But what? And I know a couple things. Like, if I was another team, and it's not all about goal scoring, I would shut down Savoy. I would have one guy here, one guy kicking him, one guy pulling him, one guy tugging him. Again, because there's only been a few other Mansfield players to score. Again, their keep is phenomenal. The defense is outstanding. The midfielders are good, but they know what number he is. Why not mark or double mark Luke Savoy?
I don't know, but they have been. We've had some insight. I was able to speak to a player on KP after the game, and they went into that game knowing that Luke Savoy was the person to watch. But you have high school kids in a set play, and every once in a while you have a tendency. A lot of them have a tendency to watch the ball coming in on the corner or coming in from a deep throw, and then they react to the ball for even a step. And Luke Savoy has that knack to be able to find the open space and touch the ball in. So
Yeah.
if you look at one of the plays there, it was I think a deep throw in that got headed through the box, and all of a sudden you see a bunch of KP players who would step towards where the ball was going to be, all of a sudden looking over their shoulder, and there's Luke Savoy, who I'm sorry, I don't need to downplay his goal because it's a great goal, but he stole it from Connor Eames, who was right there as well. And I have to want to shout out to Connor because he was hurting.
All right, so say we get to tournament, and it's the last 2 years, Mansfield, I think maybe 3 years. Last year they got shut out in 1-0 to Braintree, which I wasn't there, but we unfortunately predicted that Braintree was going to be one of the teams to watch. 2 years ago they lost 1-0 double overtime to Attleboro, a great game. And so one of the trivia questions is the last time they won was, I think they lost to Needham 2-0, but they won the first game against King Philip. My point is, tournament time, a lot of games are 0-0, 1-0, maybe 2-1, but if Savoy gets shut down, again, this is not all about Savoy, but who do you think is likely to step up? Or do you think, because of the confidence, that it could be anyone, anytime? Or do you think there's, sometimes clutch players come through. Who do you think could be, and it could be a defender, could be a mid, or how do you think, is it going to be a team
do we have
effort?
to pick a person?
No, what do you think? Just say they shut down
the scenario
offensively.
The scenario is that we have such a strong defense in goalkeeping that if we hold every down, then we can win a game on a set piece. So we need to win some corner kicks and some deep throws. We have at least 2, maybe 3 individuals who can throw the ball from the sideline right into the box.
Let's mention him.
Them. So Dylan Buchanan can do it.
Yep.
Was it Graham Wells?
Cam Eddy.
Kim Eddy.
I thought Cam Eddy was the designated long
He has
thrower.
been kind of, well, he
Dylan Buchanan has
Yes.
been recently
Yep.
when he's in the game. And, there's always chaos in the box in a high school game, and people don't want to get caught tackling somebody on defense and give up a penalty. So you can sometimes get away with a little more on the offensive side. So that, unfortunately, because nobody likes to win a game on the set piece, if you can win it in open play, right?
I'll
Right?
take a win anyway.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
But
And I think 80% of goals are scored on set pieces in the Hawk. It seems. This
it
year.
seems that way, yes. But I think it'll come down to that, not an individual.
Yeah.
So once you have that sort of, I call it the chaos in the box,
Yeah.
where the ball's just in there, it just becomes a will. Whoever's got the will and a little bit of luck for the ball to squirt to them to put it away.
Yeah.
And of all the people that I think would be in a position to do that, because out of the way we play with we're still vertical, even though we have some possession ability. I think Owen Malahy's got the best chance to be the person to kind of touch one in.
Okay.
I think he's second on the team in goals.
Mark
right
that
now.
down.
And he
Yep.
scored with his head a couple times, right?
Yep, he scored with his
so,
head, and
So that ball that's bouncing in the box, he's willing to go. We've already seen him do that. That's good.
Yep, Owen Malahy has 3. 3 goals so far, October 3rd. So, again, glass half empty. We talked about how strong our keep is in our defense, but, and again, we don't want to talk about individuals here. How would you beat Mansfield's defense? If you were Foxborough or OA or Silver Lake in the playoffs, how would you go about trying to attack Mansfield's defense? I mean, they're gonna have a plan.
I put players through the middle, empty, without the ball through the middle to collapse the stopper, push the stopper back into if not a fullback, but almost a flat 4, and then I would control the midfield in that gap, because that's where Mansfield seems to have a little bit of weakness sometimes. I know we've talked about how well they've challenged, but when they get up, when they get a little separated on this little space, the midfield in front of the stopper seems to be their one kind of weak spot. If you can get the ball in there, control there, which some teams have did, which Canton did a few times, which Foxborough did early on, which I'm trying to think another team that did it recently, but at home. And if you can do that, then you can get some diagonals through the gaps in the diamond. You can get some runs inside of the outside backs towards the corners of the 18. I think if I was going to try to do it, that's the way I would attack the Mansfield defense.
Okay.
I don't think it's a high percentage, because it requires probably 4 or 5 connected passes, and high school's not good at that to begin with. Or it takes one good talent in the middle who can kind of control the middle and then find that split.
You know somebody in Foxborough who looks pretty good on the ball in the middle, who is doing that, who is making those diagonal balls to the corner.
Yeah.
And they were finding one of the strikers on one side, but there's nobody on the other side.
Yeah.
So they only
That
had
was a
they
shit.
only had
I
a
think
one-sided
he's
offense.
coming back, that kid.
Yep.
He was out for a few games. And the reason I'm asking this is because not only is our viewership growing, but I'm going to be sending this to the folks down in Silver Lake. I'm going to be sending, so this cable is going to be broadcast regionally. So now they know a plan to attack Mansfield. So that's David Cass right there.
Yeah, but also,
Just gave
I want
away our
to say,
secret.
just so everybody knows, Mansfield as of the Globe Bowl this week is number 3 in the state.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, if you look at that top 20, I don't think Silver Lake's on it.
Yeah.
And
But
I would think that Silver Lake is honestly, because I'm fortunate enough to know 3 or 4, 5, 6 players on that team. That team is stacked. And they're not getting the recognition in the Globe right now, which is odd considering they've done so well the last few years.
Yeah, it's not like they're new to the.
No. I mean, obviously, Nauset's jumped up to number 1.
Yeah.
Brockton with 3 losses is number 2.
Yeah. So, David, let's talk about that. We've talked granularly, as you guys know at home. We've talked about the intricacies of soccer. We've talked a little bit about the Hawk, mostly the Kelly Rex. Mansfield is, I didn't know it was number 3. I thought it was number 4. But, and again, Mark, I'm going to lean on your experience. And again, I'm going to have to say, I don't know if they're the number 3 team in the state. I don't think the Globe knows. The Globe goes from, teams' records, and they don't always know. There's not a lot of out-of-conference games, although Mansfield beat Dartmouth 4-1 early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're a legit contender? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just did.
I'm not going to say what I said last year, which is in our conference, we definitely are a legit contender. I just think there are stronger conferences in the state, in Eastern Mass,
Yeah.
than we are from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I will say that other than a couple teams, maybe only one team, just about any team could win a game in the Hawk this year. They could.
And that's why we talk about the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look back over the first half, and I mean, 1-0 win, 1-1 tie. It was Sharon with a goal in the last 3 seconds to tie that one up. 1-1 with Oliver Ames. Canton 0-0 when Canton had 2 almost point-blank opportunities, and I think Salisbury saved that tie with a diving save. If those switch the other way, and Mansfield does go into doldrums. They have a history of hitting a 5-game stretch where they don't play as well.
So with
Just
every
wanna stay
great-
out of that.
Didn't want to bring that up because
Just stay out of that.
No, I still got my glass half empty. I'm just doing this on purpose. So, with any good team in any sport, you need talent, you need good coaching, which we have with Coach Sheridan and Frank Durant and Bruce Bauk and I know
Tommy G.
Bobby.
Tommy G, Gianna Ludis.
Gina
I hope.
Lewis.
Bobby.
We have great Bobby Introni, the freshman coach, and he helps out on the varsity games. We have great senior leadership, including captains Ethan Brill-Cass, Luke Savoy, and Sam Nugent. You can tell I'm heading towards my summer here. We have great seniors that Luke Devine, Derek Muth, Connor Eames, Max Bank,
Matt O'Donnell.
Matt O'Donnell. Thank you very much. And we have we have a freshman Dylan Buchanan. We have Tommy Lanzillo, who's a sophomore, the only sophomore that starts. We have depth. Do we have depth, David? Just say, and here we go. I'm going to say the injury word. Just say.
Everyone stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm the jinx right here. Matt Savoy, you know it.
I mean, we've already had some injuries. We've
have a
already
lot of
lost
depth?
2 or 3 players for a number of games. Max Bank was out for the first almost until last game. He got some playing time.
yeah.
We lost Colin Caridi for 3 games with concussion syndrome symptoms. So we've had a bit of a sting, but not as profound as it has been in the past with some of the players. Look, I think if you go back to what I said the first in the preseason show, we're halfway through the season and there's still a lot of question marks. Mansfield, I think, is the class of the Kelly Rex, and I think they've shown
agree,
that. Because I think, like you said, they don't have. I mean, they've got a top scorer in Luke Savoy, but they also have 6 players that I could rattle off that are all could be considered top in their position for the Kelly Rex across the field. I don't think you're going to find a better sweeper or for that type of position or that type of play than you're going to find Sam Nugent. I'm biased, but I think we got the best midfield, center defensive mid stopper in the Kelly Rex as well with Ethan Brill-Cass. I think. We got enough talent around them and playing well outside them with Derek Muth is just, another quality player. They've got depth. But,
Derek, you're my favorite. I always tell you that.
But again,
Just shout out right here.
they're
I get paid to say that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
they're high school kids, and any game can go south or north depending on how with a couple balls here and there. And so I think they could go anywhere from. I don't want to jinx them. I think they can win the Hawk. Once you get into the playoffs. We've seen it in the past 2 years. What is it, a toe poke between Ferez's legs in double overtime 2 years? Was that 2 years ago? Because he was covering for Jed Tolbert, who was injured.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was, and I thought they carried the play in that game. So you never know. And then and last year, Braintree, that 1-0 goal was not,
So Braintree wasn't seeded right, in my opinion.
Right. They're in the Bay
As is
State
the problem
League.
with the seeding, the MIA.
Right.
The seeding is purely on your record. You're a Division I team, Eastern Mass. You have the best record, you're number 1 seed. You're the second best record, number 2 seed. But that doesn't speak to the competition you play. That's why we kind of talked about that a little bit last year in that the Bay State Conference is just so strong. The top 6 teams all could compete, amongst the two or three top teams in the Kelly Rex. But they ended up seeded lower because of that. Their record is slightly above 500, so they're seeded low. Top teams end up having to play them. Now, you have to play everybody. In theory, you have to be able to beat, not everybody, but you have to beat whoever the competition is. You have to beat them. So it's a bit of a, you don't know what you're going to get when you get to the playoffs. We try and figure that out every year, and we tend to
I'm not making any more guesses on
So
the playoffs.
lucky for the viewers at home, I'm sorry I'm talking so loud, but I'm so excited. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to have a postseason show, which means before the postseason. So to wrap up my previous point, you need good coaching, good senior leadership, good skills. You need confidence, which they have. You need a little bit of luck, which there's lack of injuries, and the ball bouncing the way. And so far, Mansfield's had that. And stay tuned to see if Mansfield has it again. And I think that's about it. So I'm going to ask you, besides Mansfield, I'm going to put you both on the spot. This is besides Mansfield. Now my glass is half full. Mansfield's going to kick butt the rest of the year. Which you could pick one from the Kelly Rex and one from the Davenport that's going to not only qualify for the tournament, maybe win the division, but make a run in the tournament. Mansfield's off the table. One team. You could pick one Kelly Rex, one Davenport. And Mark, this is going on the record, so.
Really? Can I claim the fifth pick?
Tom Brady did.
I am going to speculate that Attleboro will get it all together again. I think they've already gone into their mid-season malaise, if you will, and they'll come out of it by the end of the year.
Well, that's surprising. That's a wild card.
And I had predicted early on, or preseason, that Canton, I thought, had so much returning talent, at least on the scoring side, that they could give anybody competition. That's why I guess I will stick with them over the other obvious choice, and probably the Davenport would be
Milford. I think Milford, because Milford still has but Milford still has 2 games against Stoughton, so I think they're going to, points-wise, if not pull even with.
Final answer, Milford?
Yeah, Milford.
Okay, and what about?
I don't have short answers. You know that.
What about Kelly Rex besides Mansfield?
I like all the teams about the same, but I don't see any one of them either having the depth of talent to really do anything unique. I think maybe one of them will qualify. I think either OA or Attleboro or both might qualify, but I don't see either one of them having the depth of talent to be able to do anything.
Can you tell he's a lawyer? He gets paid by the word. So we're going to sign it off. I want to remind Mark that he won the trivia contest, and we will do this once again in the postseason. Thanks for staying tuned. Hopefully you took a food or a snack break during the show, but please tune in for episode 4, and thanks for watching, and have a good night. Thanks, David Cass and Mark Murphy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Good night.